Today we're going to be putting together the cheapest 5090 PC within reason.
For around $2,800, yes, $2,000 of it is the graphics card. We're building a gaming PC for the RTX 5090 and see, will it be bottlenecked really bad at 4K? We're about to find out after a word from today's sponsor.
In today's video, we pair the latest and greatest GPU with some of our favorite budget and mid-range components to make the cheapest RTX 5090 PC. While finding a 5090 in stock is a high hurdle, getting amazing deals on the rest of the components is no problem with today's video sponsor, Jawa.gg. Jawa is easily one of the best marketplaces to buy and sell used hardware, laptops, even get awesome custom gaming PCs at some pretty amazing prices. For example, they have some super aesthetic and budget options, like this Gigabyte themed PC with an RX 7600 XT and Ryzen 5700 for just $888. And if you're in the market for some components, the PC parts section is always packed full of gems. One of my favorite finds from today is this EVGA RTX 3060 Ti for just $250. To do some deal hunting yourself, be sure to check out Jawa.gg today, and if you end up shopping around, use code TOASTY10 to save 10% off your order up to $10. And don't forget, if you find any amazing deals, leave them in the comments down below. Now, let's get back to that video.
So of course, all the people that are going to be spending $2,000+ in the 5090 normally think go Ryzen 9 or Intel i9, but we think if you're going to be playing at 4K, there might be more to the picture than needing those high-end parts and CPUs. So basically $800 left for the PC, which is really budget, honestly. Will it actually keep up with those Ryzen 9s and i9s?
And obviously, if you do have the budget for this graphics card, you might have the budget for a high-end CPU, so you might as well just do that if you want to. But for theoretical science, because that's what we like to do here at the Toasty Bros, and we like balling on a budget, can we get away with a lesser CPU? I'll show you guys what we went with and get to building.
For the CPU, we have the Ryzen 5 7600, 6-core, 12-thread at $190. So pretty good deal. It comes with a stock cooler. We're going to be putting an aftermarket cooler on it because, like we said, we're not going for like the absolute cheapest. We're not doing the Xeon. We're not doing DDR3 or DDR4 RAM. This build does have some reasoning to it because we want the 5090 to be able to perform the best it can while maintaining a cheap price. And speaking of going with an aftermarket cooler, we have the Thermalright X120. This is a pretty nice just black tower cooler that we paid $17 for, which is really cheap for a tower cooler. And we've actually used these a lot. You can really use these on almost anything. You can do the Ryzen 7s, the i7s and whatnot. So it's gonna be more than enough to cool this. For the motherboard, we went micro ATX because that is the most budget route to go. This is the Gigabyte B650M Gaming Plus Wi-Fi. So you can save some money, go without the Wi-Fi if you want to, but micro ATX is quite a bit cheaper than going with mini ITX or full size. And this one does come with the added feature of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and it's still a pretty nice board. This one's still gonna have like all your basic amenities like PCIe Gen 4x16. It's going to have 4 RAM slots, 1 8-pin, which is plenty for our 7600. So overall, a pretty good board for the price. Now, of course, we had to match our VRAM. 32 gigs of VRAM, GDDR7, we had to get some DDR5. This is the G.Skill Flare X5, 32 gigs dual channel. This is actually some pretty good stuff. 6,000 megahertz. It is CL30, which is some pretty respectable CAS latency. It's just black, but we paid $98 for it. So pretty good deal for some pretty fast RAM. Now, of course, we could have saved some money here. We could have cut a corner. We could have put a 512 gig in here, but honestly, nobody would build a PC this cheap with a 5090 anyways, so we at least want there to be some reason. 2 terabytes going to be plenty. It's an MP44L, so it is Gen 4 as well, and we got this for $101, which is really respectable for 2 terabytes of storage, so we won't need to upgrade anytime soon.
And you guys know what this is. This is a Founders Edition, or did they call them Founders Edition still for this series? Yeah. This is the Founders Edition RTX 5090, which comes with 32 gigs of GDDR7 VRAM. It is the best GPU on the market right now. One might say with DLSS 4 support, it does make it a bit better, but you know, either way, it is still the best GPU on the market, and it comes in at $2,000, which is a lot of our budget in this build, but I'm excited to see at 4K how this GPU performs with a lesser CPU, and we do have some benchmarks with a 7700X, which is a slightly better CPU that we can compare a little bit to this configuration so you guys can see what the CPU bottleneck looks like. I imagine there will be one, but it's just how big of a bottleneck is there and would still be worth picking up the 5090 for this configuration. We're gonna find out. Now, one thing the 5090 does not lack is power requirements. So we had to get this right here. Bequiet Pure Power 12M 1000 watt power supply, which is actually ATX 5.1 compatible. So it'll be able to push 600 watts through that ATX 5.1 connector into this graphics card, and we'll have plenty of wattage for this GPU that can pull excess of 575 watts under full load. And yeah, it's from Bequiet, $139 for this power supply. Not the best price in terms of price performance, but we need this wattage. We need something with ATX 5.1, and this will do the job. And for the case, we had the Apevia Phantom, which I never thought I'd be doing a build with an Apevia case at RTX 5090. it's kind of funny because this is a $74 case, but the funny thing is this Founders 5090 is going to fit just nicely inside this build because it's such a nice compact card. We really can go with a budget micro ATX case. It does come with a ton of fans here. We have 5 in total, which I will say Apevia's fan configuration is a little bit freaky. We have exhaust on the side, intake on the top. We'll probably fix that up here in a bit when we get to building, but all in all for $74.99, this mesh version has some additional ventilation right here. Should be plenty to cool the 5090 and the 7600 combo we have going on here, but we gotta test in some games. I'm excited to see what the bottleneck's gonna look like. Let's build it all together and get to benchmarking. All right, guys, now that we have this cheapest 5090 PC put together, we're gonna start with Fortnite. And before you guys go crazy in the comments, I'm doing this on purpose, mainly because I wanna show you guys why you wouldn't run this configuration first. We're currently running 4K DX12 unlimited frame rate, far view distance, low textures, settings most people would probably play when playing Fortnite, and we're CPU bottlenecked by a good margin, as you can see. That CPU is currently at 100% load. The GPU is not really being used all that much. And this is just a good example of somebody, let's say, spending a ton of money on a high-end GPU, but primarily plays esports games. They made a big mistake. They did not configure their system properly because I imagine, yes, we are running 4K, getting 200 FPS. You still need a solid GPU to do that. But running these settings, you most likely could get away with something like a 4070 or 4070 Ti or something like that with the CPU and still get good FPS numbers. So is the 5090 doing some work here? It is. I mean, we're pulling 250 watts, give or take, but a lot of this is CPU horsepower. So we are going to be testing some other games as well that are going to be more GPU bound that in theory should eliminate that bottleneck, not fully, but for the most part, and we'll be able to see what the ceiling is with the 7600. But again, not to say this isn't playable or this isn't a good experience. I mean, we are running 4K, but we are running lower details, and you know, it's one of those things where is it really worth it? I don't know. It's funny seeing this 5090 only at around 270, 290 watts when I know full well it can pull up to 500 watts. It's literally at half the power right now. Oh, hello. Where'd you come from? That's a shotgun, Matt. I thought you just fell off the map. And Shaq is stuck in the corner. Gotta love Fortnite bots. Got him? Now, as long as this doesn't break the game, McAllister, this very well may break the game, I'm gonna switch to some higher details. Let's go to a Epic preset. Now, I can't enable hardware ray tracing mid-game, so this is just gonna be running normal Epic settings. And now our GPU should wake up here. Look at that, we're at 450 watts, still getting about 100 FPS. This would be an example, if you are running higher details, you can take advantage of the 5090 a bit. We're still CPU bottlenecked because we're only pulling about 450 watts here, but we are getting really good details, and it looks pretty nice. We'll say it doesn't feel as smooth. We're definitely having some hitches and stutters here and there, but we are utilizing that 5090 a bit more. We also do have wiggle room with DLSS, which we'll be doing more DLSS testing later on to fully show you guys if there is a reason to get a better CPU. If you have something like DLSS 4 and you only play games that you don't really care about frame gen, maybe you don't need a higher end CPU. We'll be doing that testing later on. But this is an example if you're running higher details where, yeah, the 5090 would actually make a difference, but no one's realistically playing this game at such high details. Let's be honest here. Somebody was fighting over here. Midnight Scar, goodbye. Oh! Oh! Almost choked that. What is happening? Oh! Oh, God! God. Oh, yeah. Oh, the player, you can play as Godzilla? That's crazy. I didn't even know that. Hey, Fortnite, again, if you're running lower details in esports titles, I think it goes without saying this configuration isn't recommended to begin with, but it's definitely not recommended if you are trying to get performance FPS numbers without using something like frame gen that is technically cheating and will induce input lag. But we'll test more input lag, frame gen, stuff like that here in just a second. But Fortnite, got that out of the way. Let's play some Warzone. Then we'll do some benchmark comparisons with the 5090 versus the 5090 inside a system with the Ryzen 7 7700X.
Alright guys, so I know Fortnite was fun and all, but we got a game to really test out, the 5090. So we're running some Warzone and Black Ops 6, and we are currently doing full screen 4K. We're not using any upscaling or ultra settings, so we are one under the most maximum, which is extreme. New Mike trying to figure it out. No. He's got a
Chat's
point.
at least being nice. I'm surprised they haven't said FU yet.
Yeah, or something that we like have to have McAllister blur. Alright, so yeah, we're getting a 160 to 200 FPS on the little drop ship here. That's not bad. A little helicopter.
And it's interesting because we're hitting 99% usage on the 5090 sometimes, but we're only pulling about 380, 400 watts, which is weird because all the other times we've tested the 5090 at 4K, we've seen it hit that 500 watt mark. So
It's like it just doesn't need it. Oh, there's two of them.
it's like it doesn't need it, or it's somewhere in some way it's being held back a little bit by the 7600, because with the 7700X we did not have this problem. So just something to keep in mind. Okay,
But yeah, one thing about Warzone too is it's one of those games where you know, we've had some like PC Risk customers that had like 4090s in the past, and you know, they'd be like, oh, why can't I get like over 200 FPS? And it's like no matter what settings you do, even upscaling, it doesn't matter. This game just does not like to go much over 200 FPS.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those where the engine's going to hold you back at some point. Yeah, since we are running native, I know you got DLSS. I would assume DLSS 4 with FrameGen will be coming to Call of Duty at some point. I don't know, it wasn't on the initial launch, but that'll definitely be a way where you could see some of those crazy high FPS numbers you wouldn't see before. I'd be curious to see how it works with Call of Duty though, because as we mentioned, we've had situations where normal DLSS doesn't make a huge difference in terms of getting that FPS numbers up.
And just for fun, if I die and I have a chance, I'll turn on like some DLSS, see what happens, like a little performance mode, and just for fun. Oh. What is my movement?
Oh, that guy's gonna kill you with the pistol. Oh no,
I will not die with the pistol. We're gonna do upscaling. Let's do DLSS. There it is. We're gonna do just a performance for fun.
Yeah, not a major difference at all. No, at 4K, DLSS is not as noticeable. I mean, even here, we hit 185, so maybe like 10 FPS on average more, which
is not even worth running.
Yeah, which I wouldn't even run in a competitive shooter like this. Well, I can get the argument if, you know, you can get like 30, 40, 50 FPS, but, you know, might as well not do that. Oh! Oh!
You're done. They call me the window sniper. Get Tantoed! Ow, ow, ow!
You kill someone with the Tanto, that's crazy.
God, they almost killed me, dude. It really does feel like a nail gun. It shoots so slow. Oh, there's 2 of them! Why are they all
3
Squid
of them.
Games? They're all Squid Games. Dude, why is there so many of them in here?
Oh my God. No way. No!
You thought I wouldn't come back, huh? Thought I wouldn't come back? Oh God, I don't have another gun. Well, Warzone. I mean, pretty good. We're maintaining some pretty high FPS at 4K. I think you could do that with some other cards still, but 5090, ran on top.
Yeah, it still works.
Ran on top.
It ran on top, baby. But we'll run some other benchmarks as well, some stuff with DLSS 4 to see if the 7600 holds us back at all in those. But long story short, it works. Is it practical? No. But it does work, and it's probably not as bad as you all at home probably thought it was. Let's run those other benchmarks and wrap this video up real quick. Yeehaw.
Alright guys, we just got done benchmarking a PC that some of you guys may think should not exist, but I think we proved that in some games you don't need the top of the line CPU with the top of the line GPU.
We'll talk about our conclusion from this experiment here in just a second, but we decided to run some other tests because just Fortnite and Warzone isn't going to cut it for this experiment. And we're going to be running these tests compared to using a CPU like the Ryzen 7 7700X. Still not a top-of-the-line 9800X 3D, but should alleviate some of the bottlenecking concerns or bottlenecking we actually had with the 5090, so that'd be a good comparison point here. First up with the 7700X in Blackmouth Wukong 4K cinematic DLSS frame gen, not DLSS 4, we got an average of 90 to 100 FPS, and with the Ryzen 5 7600 on the same settings, we got very similar results, 90 to 100 FPS. So in terms of running DLSS in this game, no problems whatsoever. We also ran Marvel Rivals 4K Ultra settings with that DLSS 4 with frame gen times 4. This is getting a mouthful to read these settings off, guys. We got 350 plus FPS on the 7700X and on the 7600, we got 350 plus FPS. It seems like DLSS 4 with frame gen times 4 works really well across all CPUs. I mean, even with our P520, it was working good. Even though it wasn't practical, it does work good. And then we have Cyberpunk running 4K Ultra settings with ray tracing enabled on overdrive mode with DLSS 4 frame gen set to times 2. On the 7700X, we got 140 FPS, and on the 7600, we got about 120 FPS. So it was a little bit less than Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk tends to like having extra cores, as you can see from the benchmark, so going with the 7700X does make sense. And lastly, our 30 mark score with the 7700X was a score of 32,278 versus 27,172 for the 7600, and that simper point for the 7600 ends up being a 10 simper point score, which is actually not horrible. And now that we finished all the benchmarks, let's put it out there. Really, we don't really recommend you do this. Most people, if you're gonna have the money for a 5090, might as well do a high-end build to begin with, and you might be able to get with a lesser GPU and get similar performance because of the bottlenecking with the 7600, but it was still fun to test this, and if you guys enjoyed this experiment, let us know in the comments down below.
So as always, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, check out our other two YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/toastybros, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Now, if you want a PC that has a little bit less bottleneck, check out PCBros.tech because we got a group of experienced builders here that typically put together pretty good builds.
I like the word typically there. We always do. They're great builds, and you don't need a 5090. Most gamers out there, you don't need much more than what we would recommend you guys get at PC Bros. Use code ToastyBros on checkout to save 3% of your next purchase. See you guys later. Bye-bye.